I'd like to call to order the June 10th, 2026 Sisters Urban Renewal Agency meeting. And let's do a Pledge of Allegiance. Do we need to?
I think we just do roll call.
Yeah. Well, we can. All right. So
I'm guessing that's a cut and paste.
I think once.
Okay, we did once. All right. I know. I thought maybe people wanted to do too.
Do it again.
We still have allegiance.
Aligned.
We're going to do the declaration later, so that's good.
All right. Roll call.
Agency member Letts.
Here.
Member Pellerin.
Here.
Member Preden.
Here.
Member McDougall.
Here.
Oh, I miss Gary.
And
Already.
Member Ross is not attending. Okay. Do I have an approval of the agenda?
I move to approve the agenda of the URA.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. No nays. It passes. Any visitor communication?
Peter Hoover.
You state your name and address, and you have 3 minutes to make your statement.
Good evening, Peter Hoover, Executive Director, Sisters Habitat for Humanity, 221 South Ash Street here in Sisters. I could spend 3 minutes and more just saying thank you to everybody, and so I promise I'm going to try and cut my thank yous down as much as possible to where I get in under 3 minutes. First of all, members Letts, McDougall, and Pellerin, thank you for your compliments regarding the Woodlands subdivision development that we did. We're very, very proud of that. I think it's, in my eyes, and I'll boast a little bit first, that is a real positive aspect, a positive addition to the community, especially since it is affordable housing. It's outside of the pattern of what most affordable houses are, and we've received very many compliments from other members of the Woodlands community, as well as the community at large, and all of you in the planning department helped make that possible. The stories that you mentioned that were shared at the dedications, they are indeed heartwarming. That's one of the enjoyable, maybe the only enjoyable part of my job. But anyway, certainly that's so amazing to hear the life transformations that have occurred. And again, I thank you because all of you in the planning department have helped make that possible. Thank you for attending the dedications and the other things that are happening in the community and elsewhere outside of the community that show by your presence the support of the City of Sisters and our elected officials for affordable housing. Thank you to the City of Sisters, to the councilors, and to the URA for their support for workforce housing. Sisters is on the forefront in my eyes with workforce housing. It's a relatively recent awareness that has come about, and you're one of the few entities that I'm aware of that has taken steps through the URA and through your other grant that you provide for supporting the development of workforce housing. Thank you for the confidence that you've shown in Sisters Habitat by making this award to us. As was pointed out, we are going to be in excess of 100 homes in the not too distant future that we will have created in the Sisters community. And so your trust is both appreciated and it's vital. We'll start construction on Larch Commons, which is a focus of this URA grant that you're considering, and that will start this summer. And I want to point out special thanks to City Manager Wheeler for resolving the language challenges that existed in the original workforce resolution that allowed us to have wonderful conversations for a while. Yeah, so, again, my thanks to all of you.
All right, thank you. Any other public comments?
If anyone on Zoom would like to participate in visitor communication, please raise your hand. There are none.
All right, thank you. We have the consent agenda up next. This just includes the minutes from the April 8th regular URA meeting and the May 20th URA Budget Committee meeting. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda? The consent agenda.
I move to approve the consent agenda.
A second?
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
I'm with it.
Okay, or that. And no nays. On to agency business. We do have yet another public hearing. and which is a consideration of URA Resolution 2026-03, adopting the fiscal year 2026-27 budget. Welcome back, Joe O'Neill. I will open this
Yes.
public hearing.
Thank you. Same song, second verse here. So very similar to the city, this is the adoption of the URA budget. So you can see here, very similar outline to the City of Sisters budget, which was approved by the budget committee or the board, and then the budget committee later, or in front of you here, excuse me. So yeah, it's just as a side note, it's awesome to see the URA get some activity here. As you can see in the budget appropriations, we've got debt service that we took with the conventional loan, and we got some transfers from the debt service fund with some fund balance going into the project fund. So yeah, just great to see things moving along and activity in the URA. And a little subtle difference compared to the city. The URA, instead of having, maybe a fixed rate levy, will have a full tax increment levy. And so it communicates that language in this resolution to tax that full amount.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any public comment?
None in person. If you would like to make a public comment on Zoom, please raise your hand. There are none.
All right, thank you. I'm going to close this public hearing. And then we can have a discussion amongst the agency. Does anybody have any comments or questions?
Do not.
I do not as well. All right.
I move to approve URA Resolution 2026-03.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any final discussion on the budget for the URA for 26-27? All right. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And no nays. That motion passes. Thank you.
Thanks, Joe.
Next up, discussion and consideration of Resolution URA 2026-04, repealing and replacing Resolution URA 2024-02, adopting workforce housing program. So Jordan Wheeler with the staff report.
Thank you, Chair and members of the board. So this is a restatement of the resolution that was adopted in 2024. So basically replacing Resolution 2024-02 and repealing that and replacing it with Resolution 26-04. There are some slight differences, as I'll explain or kind of summarize here in a second. So a couple years ago, 2024, the agency established the Workforce Housing Grant Program, and this followed, I think a few years before that, the agency updated the project plan to identify workforce housing as one of the remaining projects in the plan and set aside $400,000 for that program. And so in 2024, we established that Workforce Housing Grant Program to allocate that money towards a grant program, and we sought applications right after that for eligible housing developers to apply for workforce housing. And just to remind you about workforce housing, that's that 80%, and in our code, up to 150% area median income in Deschutes County is that we're targeting with this program. So once the council awarded the grant, some challenges emerged with how that the grant program, as written, kind of constrained the ability for our housing partners to find tenants to occupy these units, especially because of the debt to income ratios. That kind of, as we base the eligibility for these workforce housing units solely on the individual or household and their income, and not exceeding the 30% debt to income ratio, that became a hard constraint for folks like Habitat for Humanity to be able to comply and find eligible households to fill those workforce housing units. So we worked with our city attorney and worked with Habitat for Humanity to develop some language that put more of a cap on the household or the household dwelling, the workforce household dwelling that was based on a price that didn't exceed the 150% AMI, assuming like a 10% down payment, and a theoretical household, right? Not the individual or the actual household with that 30% debt to income, maximum. So this provided a little more flexibility for folks like Habitat and more comfort that they can go ahead and find folks that would be able to qualify and get lending to be in those workforce housing units. So unfortunately, the red lines kind of got all messed up as we were working through that, but there wasn't that many, honestly, where the changes occurred in the resolution or in this program are really in the sections talking about definitions. So all this that I'm kind of conveying to you and summarizing is like in the definition of workforce purchase price and the rental rates. And one thing that we made sure to include in here, as you wanted to point out, an issue that we kind of were working through too, is the definition of 150% is sometimes inconsistent with other programs, like we've talked about the moderate income revolving loan program. So you may find different definitions of what is workforce housing. The Sisters code, as I mentioned, goes up to 150%, but the council or the board in this case has the ability through, when you'll see later, executing grant agreements to set a different limit, right? And set it at 120%, for example, instead of the 150. And so that flexibility is still maintained in the resolution for the board to make those adjustments. So, so like I said, I wasn't able to maintain those red lines, all the back and forth, but what the resolution 2026-04 does is going to repeal the prior resolution from 2024 and update this program. And by doing this, your next item on the agenda is approving a grant agreement, which is sort of dependent upon these changes being made to this to the program resolution. Happy to try to answer any questions. And again, I'll thank Peter Hoover for his patience and also help and kind of working with us. Appreciate it.
Okay, thank you. Anybody have any questions or comments? Go ahead.
This isn't a question, but this is more of a comment for clarification. In case somebody wants to watch this meeting later, it might sound scary to be looking at allowing people to go over the 30% debt to income ratio. It might sound like that is a bad idea, but from what I've learned, so many people are paying rents at a much higher ratio than that. That if we're not allowing them to come into these programs, we're not helping them stabilize their monthly outgo. And I mean, there are other reasons behind it, but it doesn't mean we're letting that debt to income ratio go, exponentially high, but having the flexibility there really does allow for more people to participate. So I appreciate this change.
Yeah, and I think this is a good example of working with our partners to continually refine the products that we're trying to create to help our partners. And I wish it didn't take so long and involve so many lawyers, but that's okay if that's what we had to do. Do you have any comments?
No.
Okay.
I think my only comment is that, we're not the subject matter experts a lot of the times, especially when it comes to contract negotiations. And so that's why it's great that we have good agency partners and a very competent city manager to get us through this stuff. And you know what? This is just an example of, we created a policy. It had a little flaw in it. We're fixing it. Good job. That's what we can do, is just kind of fix small mistakes like this. So, as a board, not as a council
That's true.
or an agency.
Very different. All right. Do I have a motion?
I move to approve URA Resolution 2026-04.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And no nays, the motion passes. And then, last but not least, of our eight
Hearings.
hearings tonight, thank you. Approve workforce housing grant agreement. Jordan Wheeler.
Thank you, Board Chair, members of the Sisters Urban Renewal Agency Board. Okay, so as mentioned in the previous item, that was program changes to the resolution will help make this go a lot easier for Mr. Hoover and getting the agency to authorize this grant agreement as recommended. So 2024, as I mentioned, we set up that workforce housing grant program through the agency, dedicated $400,000 towards that, sought applications from housing developers to apply for that program. We had one proposal from Sisters Habitat for Humanity, and it was for the construction of workforce housing units at their large commons project. Since that time, they went through the whole land use process and got approval. You may have noticed that there's actually a street built there and public improvements done at this point that have been accepted now by the city into our system. So that phase of the project's done. But similar to the challenges identified with like the debt to income ratios and things like that, we've been spending a lot of time working through challenges in terms of the grant agreements itself and some of the requirements. And this is actually one of two grant awards that the board and then the city council awarded Sisters Habitat. The other is a $186,000 affordable housing grant. And one of the issues that we've been working through is the fact that Sisters Habitat is using, a land trust model for this development, which, just presented some changes that we need to look at in terms of the grant and sort of the timing on the release of the funds, and especially the requirements around affordability covenants, and how what the form of those look like, and when are they required to be recorded, and when we consider the requirements met to release the funds. So I think we reached a pretty good compromise in terms of, seeing the progress that's been made on the project, the eligibility of what the grant funding could be used on have not changed, but there's still some assurances in the city too, or for this case, the agency, about provisions in there, if there's any default or, for some wild reason the project doesn't move forward, there's the ability for the agency to pursue a clawback of the funds. I don't think that would happen, but there are still those provisions in there. And this is, again, something that I want to just bring up, that even though the grant program allows the funding to go up to 150% AMI, the Sisters Habitat for Humanity is targeting up to 120% AMI. And I think if you do the calculations on what we just talked about in terms of the thresholds for the maximum purchase price, it's under $500,000 for a dwelling, if I'm not mistaken, for a 3-bedroom home. Peter probably knows more of the exact numbers. It's all theoretical, right? Because you have to account for insurance and things like that in that price. But again, that's what we're trying to do here. Is if Sisters is at the close to $800,000 for the average sale price of a home, we're trying to find a way to construct more housing that is affordable and obtainable for our workforce. And those are the folks that are in that 80% to, in this case, 120% AMI. So just to repeat, the council, or the board had awarded this grant after receiving the proposals and getting the presentation a few years ago, and it has taken some time, and again, progress being made on the project, and some of those milestones have been hit. So at this point, we're bringing forward to you this grant agreement for your approval.
Okay, thank you. Any discussion? Woot, woot.
Just 400,000?
Yeah,
It's a big number, you know what I mean? We're just a little town, right?
and you said 2024. I mean, really, it doesn't seem like that
It
long
happened
ago,
like
but
yesterday. Well,
I'm sure you feel like it was that long ago. Yeah,
He only has about a year to build.
yeah,
I think so.
yeah. Again, not subject matter experts on building either, but designing, but happy to swing hammers if you need it. Okay, any other comments or before we get too punch drunk?
The only thing I'd say is this is the growth that we want.
Yeah, this is
The growth we want.
this is-
We need it, actually.
Yeah,
We want,
the happy stuff, so,
this is good stuff.
yeah. All right, do I have a motion?
I move to approve a workforce housing grant agreement with Sisters Habitat for Humanity in the amount of $400,000 for the construction of workforce housing dwellings at the Larch Commons development.
A second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And no nays, motion passes. All right, thank you very much. And with that, I'm going to adjourn the URA meeting, and please, nobody run off because there's a few things to sign.
Good work, council, and,
I'm an agency, I don't know.
yeah, good work, agency.
Does it make you feel like you're like almost schizophrenic or something?
Peter.
I'm an agency member.